Hi, Composition 2 students. I am here to do what I'm going to start calling the Weekend Warrior videos, just to give you some tips on things that I know you need for your essay, to give you a catch up on some questions that I've answered from your classmates during the week, and other things that I think will prepare you for your weekend work for those of you who like to kind of cram it all into the weekend. I get it. I went to school. I paid my own tuition. My parents didn't help me much, and I worked a lot. I worked full time through school, so I know how much you're trying to cram in, especially in a summer course. Like, they're just so fast. So you can do it, you all. Do it, do it, do it. But these videos have played a really important role, I think, especially in Module 2, because we just have so much to do so quickly. And so you'll probably start seeing fewer videos from me each week. Module 2 was just a week of so many videos. Also, a quick apology, you all, that I had a few D2L technical things happening this week. It's so funny. We're using D2L this summer, and we're switching to a different learning management system in the fall. And I'm an expert on Blackboard. That's what I primarily taught in before I came to Colorado to teach. And so I'm still learning how D2L works. So I had to make a few adjustments this week, so I apologize if you didn't see some things for a few days. And I'm doing some weird stuff where I'm sending emails to you where I'm talking to myself, but I'm really talking to you. I've been cracking up laughing at myself for saying, hi, Beth, and then signing it Beth. So I'll fix that. I know what I'm doing. There are some idiosyncrasies to the program that I'm definitely becoming an expert on this week. And then real quick, I'll introduce you to my other cat. This is Banani. She likes to lie on my notepad where I have things to do, and she doesn't want me to do my work. She wants to play her favorite fetching game. She's like one of those cat dogs. She likes to retrieve her toys and bring them back to me. All right, so a couple of things I want to talk about in this video. I'm going to talk really fast. Don't forget to pause if you need to take notes and or rewind and listen to me say something again. So Banani is lying on my notebook, so I'm going to tell you, I'm going to go over in-text citations really quick. I'm going to go over how body paragraphs should be structured in this laid out, how they should show up in your essay. I'm going to talk a little bit about secondary sources, you all. And then I was talking to one of your classmates, and I want to talk about perfectionism in writing just for a bit. So let's start with in-text citations. You all read the Cameron Hauer essay this week, and it was not all the way in MLA format because it's published in a textbook, so it looks a little different. So let's review MLA format really, really quickly. You all know you need a heading over here, your name, my name, the course, and then the date that the assignment is due. So I should fix this. The assignment is actually due on the 12th of June. So that's the date that you use for MLA format is the deadline. Your header, if you don't know how to do a header, I'm trying to get into my document here, but there's two ways to do it. You can double click at the top and tab over and add your name, and then insert a page number, you all, because you can do the top of the page number. And I usually choose this one, and then I put my name in front of it with a space, or you'll put your last name in front of it with a space. Google Docs works similarly, but you're gonna want to use the page number formatting, because if you don't, you'll have Hauer 1 on all of your pages. And so then I double click outside the header. You can also do an insert header, I think, over here. Yep. And then your title. It can be something creative like Cameron has done. He's kind of identified the aspects of Christoph's writing that he's analyzing in his title, but you could also, I'm just going to type an alternate title here. You could also do something like rhetorical analysis of fleeing to the mountains. I was trying to remember the title, and that's what it is. So you could have either of these, not both. I'm just showing you an alternate. All right, so we know that Cameron Hauer has pretty much a narrative in the beginning of his essay and his introduction, and then he mentions the primary source. Notice that the periodical New York Times is in italics. Notice that the essay that he's analyzing, and you're analyzing an essay also, has the title inside double quotation marks. It is not in italics. So these are probably some editing things you can take care of. The second paragraph is the summary. So you see I have some notes in here. I've identified that this is the summary. At the end of the summary, wherever your summary of the primary source is, you're going to add an in-text citation. There are two in-text citation types that you can use. You notice that I have a shortened version of the article title in this particular in-text citation. I have fleeing. We don't want in-text citations to be super long. This should be very short. So I've just chosen the first word of the title, and that's my in-text citation. Why did I choose this in-text citation? Because I'm pretending I'm Cameron at this point, because when Cameron introduced the author in the quote here, and in this response to, actually, so there's a quote here and then sort of a summary of what, there's a lot going on in this paragraph. This is the summary paragraph. He quotes a little bit from the piece just to show kind of the main point, and then he clarifies the main point, continuing to summarize. So I have the in-text citation at the very end, and Cameron Howard's already mentioned the author several times, so I don't want to repeat the author's last name is the point I'm trying to get to. That's why I'm using a shortened version of the article title. So your options for in-text citations for website sources are always these three. First option, author last name. Second option, article title. Third option, periodical title. Okay, so because Christoph is already used, I'm moving to option 2, which is the article title. If Cameron had said something about Christoph and the title of the essay, probably not doing that because he's already mentioned it up here. You see up here he's already mentioned it, but if he mentions both in the paragraph with the summary, then I would use the New York Times. So the bottom line here is the rule. The in-text citation cannot have the same information in it as what you've said in your sentences to talk about the source. You know, if you've mentioned the author's name, don't put the author's name. If you've mentioned the author's name and the article title, then don't put the article title, the essay title. You're going to have to move to your last option, which is the periodical, okay? New York Times. Or in your case, Atlantic. All right, so that's the first in-text citation, and you heard me say that that's one of the options. The other option, when I scroll down to the third paragraph that I'm going to show you, is paragraph numbers. So if you find using paragraph numbers is easier, just count the paragraph where the information came from that you're using in your source. You're either summarizing it, paraphrasing, or quoting it, and just put the paragraph number there. So you see I have both options in this document. It's not a thing where you will do both. I'm just showing you both as examples so you can choose which kind of in-text citations you want to use. I find using paragraph numbers to be a pain because I don't want to have to count all the paragraphs. I like using author name, article title, website title as my three options instead of the paragraph numbers. But you use what you want to use. And then stick with the choice you make, either choosing from the top three or the paragraph numbers, right? I'm just kind of giving you these options. Stay consistent with whatever your choice is. Both are correct. I would say that the MLA, gosh, what name do I want to give them? Well, I'll just call them the MLA experts of the world would prefer the paragraph numbers. I don't consider myself an MLA expert, you all. I actually don't like teaching it. It's something that takes our focus away from writing well. But we have to learn how to use in-text citations when we're doing academic writing because we have to cite our sources and we have to be ethical with our treatment of sources. So I get it. I understand why we have to do it, but it's just not something I prefer to teach. I probably dislike it as much as you do, okay? So use one of those two types of in-text citations, not both. So this paragraph, all right, so let's review. Introduction with narrative, summary of primary source here. So this is the first body paragraph, and this is where Cameron Howard is trying to make a point about something he notices about Christoph's essay. So this particular paragraph is focusing on pathos and ethos. And so you'll notice there's a little bit of a summary up here. After the colon, there's a summary. This is called a colon right here, you all. So I've used one of the options. Notice, again, that Cameron gave author and article title. So notice what my in-text citation is. It's my third choice. It's the periodical title in italics. Next, Cameron gives some examples of both the ethos and the pathos. And he does this in a really cool, I've not seen this done this way many, many times. This is a pretty unique way of handling quotations. He tells what the style Christoph is using is. He puts the quotation inside parentheses, and then he gives a label to more tone, and then gives some examples. And so you notice there are quotations inside the parentheses. That's weird. And so look what I'm going to do, you all. Both the examples inside the parentheses and inside the quotation marks are in the same kind of long sentence. And so I'm putting my in-text citation all the way at the end. I didn't put one here. I have some highlighting here because I have a sense that some of you will go, oh, I think one needs to go there. But because this full sentence has two different quoted examples, I'm going to put it here at the end. And again, this is my example of using the paragraph numbers, which you don't have to do, or you can do, it's your choice. But if I were not going to use a paragraph number, since I have the author's name, I would put that shortened version of the article title. I would put that fleeing inside quotation marks again, just like I did up there. Okay, and then at the end of the paragraph, we have a little bit more paraphrasing. And so, yes, even though you put some of the author's words from the primary source into your own words, because you don't want to quote the example, you just kind of want to say what the author was doing, and that's called paraphrasing, like putting it into your own words. You still have to have an in-text citation at the end of the paraphrase. You can't just use the information from the primary source that you're using as an example in your own words and then expect your readers to know that you've used the source. You really need to help your readers. You know, I'm a different kind of reader, y'all, because I'm given the assignment and I know the primary sources you're using, but imagine someone in a different English class is reading this rhetorical analysis. They would really need this in-text citation. It helps the reader to see that indeed that was information from a source. It confirms that. And then they're also trusting you as the writer because you've used the source ethically. So awesome. That's the MLA stuff I wanted to talk with you about. Let me know if you have any questions. I'll be offline most of the weekend, but I'll answer questions after the essay is due and can still answer your question and still help you to learn how to cite sources effectively and all that stuff we have to do in this class. Body paragraphs, you all. I want to talk with you about body paragraphs. I'm going to stay in this Cameron Howard document just to talk with you about body paragraphs. So your body paragraphs really are going to have three parts. They're going to include a focusing sentence. Basically, the focusing sentence will tell what aspect of the writing you're writing about, which aspect of the primary source you're analyzing. So if you're looking at pathos, you would have a focusing sentence that mentions pathos or emotional appeal, or you could even use a phrase like using emotions or use of values, whatever. So you have to have a focusing sentence at the beginning of your body paragraph so your readers know what's being analyzed. Then you're going to include examples of what the paragraph is focusing on. So if it's, pathos or the introduction, you might have a paraphrase, you might have a quote. So what I'm going to do here is just tell you that your examples can be quoted or your examples can be paraphrased. It is possible that you could summarize examples, but it's less likely because examples are usually specific. And so the only way I would use summary as to show my examples is if all the examples were pretty similar and I was just kind of running through the different examples that I saw, maybe in a couple of different paragraphs or something like that. But it's more likely that you'll quote examples or paraphrase examples. And then the last part, and you all, I'm not yelling, I'm not a yeller, I don't yell when I teach, but I'm putting this in all caps because commentary, this is the part that's missing the most from body paragraphs. Body paragraphs need for you to explain how the pathos affected the reader, or how the introduction connected with the reader, or if you're arguing against some of the writer's points, you would be explaining your own reasoning for, disagreeing or agreeing, whatever. So your commentary must be in the body paragraph. It can't just be an identification of, hey, this writer is using pathos, cool, and then just moving on. You need to have a couple of sentences in the paragraph that explain how the basically you're using commentary to explain your analysis. You need to tell us what your observations are on its effect on the reader, or why you agree or disagree, or if you're using an interpretive approach, what something means. So commentary is really important. So these are the three parts. I'm being a little formulaic here because I want you to ensure that you include that commentary. Without the commentary, the analysis you've done is just identified that you see something but haven't talked about it, right? And we need to hear you talk about it. All right, the next thing I need to talk about is secondary sources. I'm just going to stick to this document. If I need to make any notes, I will. So, y'all, secondary sources are required, 2 of them for this assignment, and it's one step to go and research them and find them. I had a few questions this week on, well, which sources can I use? I'm not looking specifically at the quality of your sources, you all. I think you should find secondary sources that you think connect to a point you need to make. And this is the most important thing about secondary sources. You're not going to earn an A on this assignment by just checking the box and saying, oh, my secondary sources are in there. I'm going to say, yep, I see them, but how do they connect to the point you're trying to make about your primary source, about the writing in the primary source? And that's kind of a reconnection you need to make, because what happens when you use the secondary source is you put in this new information, and then if you don't come back to the primary source, if you don't come back to what the writer has done, if you don't make that connection back, then the secondary source isn't working all the way. It's not all the way effective. So I need you to make sure that you try to connect the secondary source back to the primary source, connect the secondary source back to the writer and what the writer has been doing in the piece through the writing. I hope that makes sense. That's the most important part for me right now, not the quality of your sources. I want them to be used well in the essay. All right, and the last thing, and this is another one of those longer videos, and so you'll watch it because I'm trying to give you as much information as I can, because this is a really fast week. But I was talking to a couple of your classmates about the idea of perfectionism in writing. And so remember, you're using the writing process. I hope you've written a draft. I hope you're using the workshop to look at comments that the writers are getting and using those comments to help you to make revisions. And then I hope you're using revision to make sure that your writing is as focused and as strong and as engaging as it can be. Take some time to not only revise, but to edit separately. Editing is looking at stuff like MLA. So I recommend when you edit that you go in and add your in-text citations. And I recommend when you edit that you work on making sure, that sentences are correct, and making sure punctuation is correct and spelling is correct and sentence structure is as accurate as possible. But we're not going for perfectionism, you all, and you're going to make some errors. And I want to remind you that errors are a part of the learning process. And so if you're trying to write the perfect draft, you might consider not thinking about it as writing the perfect draft. I think that's an approach we've all taken when we write in an academic context, because we're writing to the professor and we're trying to get the highest grade that we can. But I want to remind you that you will get a chance to revise Essay 1, but do take the steps to revise and edit and submit the strongest writing that you can. And be ready to accept some feedback that will help you to see there are some errors, there are some mistakes, there are some areas where your writing could be better, and that you'll learn from that. It's a part of the learning process and a part of the writing process. Have a great weekend. Good luck with your draft. Thank you for watching all the videos this week. This has been a tough week, but I know you'll be glad when it's done. When you get that essay submitted, you'll feel some relief. And then I'll give you a heads up that Module 3 will be a lot lighter, and you'll get a little bit of some room to breathe the next week. So take care. Talk to you later.